I think the most important question is, am I Team Paxton or Team Ben? Hello and welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. In today's video, I wanted to review season 2 of Never Have I Ever. I was a big fan of Never Have I Ever in season 1, but I did not review it because I didn't have my YouTube channel yet, so sorry I don't have a video for season 1 of Never Have I Ever. I'll talk about it a tiny bit in this video, but I'm mostly going to focus on season 2 in this video. It came out on July 15th of 2021, and I was really excited to watch it. I've already watched it 3 times within the span of like a couple of days. So I just wanted to break down season 2, give my thoughts and opinions on each character's plotline, and determine if it's worth watching. So let's just get right into it. Let me begin with talking about Never Have I Ever and sort of its format and its setup. Never Have I Ever is a show created by Mindy Kaling and Lang Fisher, and it's loosely based on Mindy Kaling's own upbringing. It's a teen comedy on Netflix dealing with family, friendships, and a lot of feelings. Currently, it has 2 seasons with 10 episodes per season, with each episode around 30 minutes long. Season 1 was super highly rated, and season 2 is following close behind. Season 1 apparently was viewed by over 40 million households. Both seasons have made the top 10 on Netflix trending page. The series follows Devi Vishwakumar, who is a teen Indian American girl whose father passed away suddenly during her freshman year of high school. The grief from her father's death paralyzes her for a few months, like she can't walk or use her legs, and that sort of leads her to have a very dry social life. The show actually begins right after she recovers the use of her legs and is able to walk again, sort of like at a random moment. And it's the beginning of her sophomore year, and she's really trying to up her social status, as well as find some romance, of course. The main supporting characters to Devi's story are her family, Dr. Nelani, who is her mother, and her beautiful and smart cousin, Kamala. Devi also has 2 sort of losery best friends, Eleanor and Fabiola, at school, as well as a standard crush with a hot jock named Paxton, and an academic nemesis named Ben. Season 2 adds a few new characters, and we'll talk about those later on in the video, but all of these characters come back in big ways in the 2nd season as well. The show explores some core themes around grief because of Devi's father passing away, and just general coming-of-age situations as well, with Devi just generally having intense emotional reactions to the world around her. The unique element about this show's format is that it has self-aware narration by actual real public figures. Mainly John McEnroe, who's apparently a tennis player. Obviously, I didn't know who that was, but they explained the connection to the family of John McEnroe to them. He sort of narrates Devi's inner voice, and there's 2 episodes, one in season 1 and one in season 2, that are narrated by someone else. Andy Samberg narrates for Ben's character, and Gigi Hadid narrates for Paxton's character. All of the narrations are kind of self-aware, and like the narrators are playing themselves. So they're public figures. They're not just like people hired to voice act. They are like, I'm Gigi Hadid, I'm a model. Like, they'll mention that in the narration. So is Never Have I Ever worth watching? I usually give a quick spoiler-free review in my videos in case you're still planning to watch it and don't want all of the specifics but want a general review if it's worth watching and what I thought overall. I'm assuming if you're watching this video you've watched season 1 already, but just in case you haven't, I definitely recommend this show in general as a lighthearted teen comedy. The main character, Devi, is just so interesting and charming but flawed at the same time. She's really kind of stressful a bit as a character because she's always making very impulsive decisions. But no matter how many rash decisions she makes, I still love her. You can really see Mindy Kaling's influence come through in this character because Mindy Kaling is kind of an expert of playing this kind of flawed character that is still very relatable. Like, her characters can be kind of edgy and problematic at times, but she still sort of has that heart and charm that makes her feel relatable. I don't know. And that translates into Devi's character a lot. Also, this show is really good at showing diverse representation, and it tries to show an authentic representation of a South Asian family. Allegedly. I am not South Asian, so I can't comment on how authentic or not the family is, but growing up in a Mexican family myself, I relate a ton to this family, even though it's a different culture. Both seasons of Never Have I Ever do a great job in incorporating representation in a very natural way. Beyond just the core Indian family we're following, we see people of all kinds of backgrounds, people that are LGBTQ+, we see disabilities portrayed. It doesn't hit you over the head with it, but it is just there. It is a very cheesy show, so if you don't enjoy sort of cheesiness or teen targeted media, you might not enjoy this show. It is definitely cheesy. It has like big kind of rom-com type moments, so if you don't enjoy that, you might not enjoy the show, and I will caution you that. But it's a very funny show, but has some dramatic elements and some serious topics covered too, so it's a really sweet show and I really love it. So about season 2, overall, I really enjoyed season 2 as much as season 1. Davy was chaotic as hell this season, and it made for like an exhilarating ride. Of course, I binged it like within a day, and like I said, I've watched it 3 times already. It is so short, like it is 10 episodes that are around 30 minutes long, so it's like 5 hours long total, and that's just not enough for me. That's my biggest complaint about this show, is that it is too short. Like, I waited a year for a season 2 and finished it so quick, so I just wish there were more episodes. I want to see more hijinks, but it was really great. I do think season 2 added a few characters, and that led to some characters' arcs being a little bit underdeveloped. There are a lot of characters and only a small amount of time to dedicate to the series, so some characters I think had better arcs than others, and I'll get to which ones I liked and which ones I didn't as much. If you liked season 1, then season 2 is definitely worth watching, and I recommend it. The action is constant, and Davy is even more stressful and entertaining than in the first season. The new characters are really great additions, and the love triangle this season was really exciting. It kind of reminded me of the Team Edward and Team Jacob craze that Twilight brought us. So now I'm going to move on to the specifics about season 2 and discuss all my thoughts on each character. Spoiler alert for season 2 ahead. If you haven't watched season 2 and plan to, you can stop the video here and come back to it. And if you don't plan to watch Never Have I Ever, then feel free to stick around. Since I'm covering a whole season in this video and I don't want it to take forever, I'm going to go sort of character by character. So instead of recapping every episode, I'm going to talk about each character's journey throughout the season and their arc, and that should cover everything that happened in the season. I'll begin with the general positives about the season and then go into the characters I feel like had really positive character development, and then I'll get into critiques and the characters that I felt were a little underdeveloped. Okay, so let's start with the positives about season 2. One thing I want to mention right off the bat is that I'm obsessed with the music of both seasons. I think the music choices are what initially drew me into this show, because the first song they play in the first episode ever is Dancing on My Own by Robin. The musical palette of this series is literally so on my alley. It is 80s and synthy and just so... it's so perfect. Season 2 ends with Say Something by Kylie Minogue, so truly a dream come true for me. Okay, now let's get into the characters for real. Let's start with our main character, Davy. Davy in season 2 is pretty unhinged. Though her intentions are sometimes good, she ends up hurting a lot of the people in her life a lot of the time. In this season, she 2 times the 2 guys that are interested in her, Paxton and Ben, and then isn't very apologetic when she gets caught. She accidentally spreads a rumor that turns out to be true about her new friend Anissa having an eating disorder, and then makes a lot of mistakes trying to apologize for that situation, making it worse. First, she tries to hide that she made up the rumor, then she gets mad at Anissa for getting her suspended after she confesses. Then she tries to make a tasteless grand apology that doesn't have any heart behind it. And then finally she apologizes for real and gets Anissa back as her friend. And finally, towards the end of the season, she gets really upset at her mom because her mom begins to start dating someone and says really hurtful things to her mom about it. I think at the very end of season 2, she makes peace with her mom. They have a good bonding moment, and she also gets with Paxton at the very end. It's a very fairy tale type ending for Davy in season 2. Overall, I wish I could say I hate Davy, but honestly, I still really love her. She acted pretty problematic this season. She hurt a lot of people in really bad ways, but I just still am charmed by her for some reason. She's so flawed and makes so many mistakes, and eventually always comes around and tries to right all of her wrongs. She's really dealing with a very difficult trauma about her dad passing away, and it's important to see this portrayal of mental health struggles and showing how they can be very ugly at times and make a negative impact on the people around you. It's the ugly side of mental health, but it's very real. She frequently has to face consequences for her actions and try to mend her relationships. And seeing Davy make all of these mistakes was so stressful watching this season. I was watching like this a lot of the time. I did like this season, seeing her get what she wanted in the romance department, even though she totally messed it up. It was cool how both of her love interests were into her, and she really sort of messed with their heads. Like, I don't know, I think because I'm an adult and they're teens, I take their relationship drama maybe less seriously, but it was exciting to see her sort of juggling the two guys and seeing how they both were like so offended and shocked that she was two-timing them, which they should be, but it was just like, whoa girl, you did that. And at the end, it was interesting to see how the love triangle was sort of opened up again, and I'm excited to see where that goes in the next season. I don't believe they've announced the next season, but it definitely ended in a way that opens that up, and I wouldn't doubt it has another season. Both seasons have been very highly rated. I want to commend the actress that plays Davy because I think it's because of her that I still like Davy despite her being such a chaotic and messy character. The actress's name is Maitreyi Ramakrishnan, I believe, and she is just really, really good at playing this very real teenage character. Like, she feels like a teen. She doesn't feel like the Riverdale teens that feel like hot adults, or the Gossip Girl teens that feel like adults playing teens. You know, they're very like mature in how they behave themselves, but Davy, it just feels so authentically teen. So now let's talk about Nellany, who is Davy's mom's character in season 2. Her journey this season was trying to find more support as a single mom to raise her chaotic daughter, Davy. At the beginning of the season, she fully intends to relocate her family to India in order to get that support, and she goes to India to visit and find a new condo for them to live in. However, while she's in India, her mother-in-law, Nirmala, helps her realize that her family is actually not very supportive. Like, while she's there visiting, her family isn't paying her much attention, and it's unlikely they'll support her when she moves there. We learn that Nirmala, who is Davy's grandmother, has been pretty lonely ever since her children moved away. So Nellany decides that she can get the support she needs for Davy from Nirmala if Nirmala moves to California with them instead of the whole family moving to India. So the grandma is moving in with them in California. In this season, Nellany also starts a sort of romantic relationship with a fellow doctor in her building, played by Common, and they end up going on a date. In the end, she decides to break it off with him because she realizes she's not quite ready to move on yet from her deceased husband. I really enjoyed Nellany's character development this season. I feel like we learned a lot about her outside of being just a mom, and we got to see how she's dealing with that grief, how she's personally struggling with it. We see a lot of how Davy is handling it, but we don't see a lot of Nellany's feelings. Seeing the relationship between Davy and her mom is one of the best parts of this show. I think it's one of the strongest relationships in the whole show. So it was great to see that develop further this season and see sort of a more human side to Nellany. Let's talk a little bit about Nirmala, who is the grandma that moved in season 2. She is a new character for this season, and at the end of the season she helps to discipline Devi. When she's mad that her mom went on a date, Nirmala steps in and tells her that it's not her place to judge and that she should be grateful to her mom and let her be an adult. Nirmala really puts Devi in her place and proves that she is a valuable addition to this family and providing that support that Nellany wanted. I found the grandma character really relatable. She gave some good comic relief throughout the season and also proved to be very valuable in giving like advice or helping in the way Nellany needed. And to me, it was very relatable. I grew up in a similar family where my mom was a single mom and my grandma came and lived with us, so I really related to this plot point in the story. It was nice to see that reflected on screen. So let's move on to Devi's school life characters and another new character to season 2, and that is Anisa. Anisa is a new transfer student to Devi's school who is also Indian, plus she's funny, she's nice, athletic, and she instantly wins over at all of Devi's classmates. She tries to be friends with Devi right away, but Devi sees her as very threatening and really wants to hate her at first. But Devi's mom forces her to invite her over and to be her friend. And Anisa turns out to be super cool to Devi and her friends. She covers for Devi when she gets a nose ring to her mom. And Devi realizes that it's really cool actually to have a fellow Indian friend that understands what she's going through. But then she starts getting upset at Anisa because she notices she has a very flirty chemistry with Devi's ex-boyfriend, Ben. She gets so worried and paranoid about the two hooking up that she accidentally starts a rumor about how Anisa has an eating disorder, which then spreads throughout the entire school and is very humiliating for Anisa. And she rightfully gets very upset at Devi when she finds out she started the rumor. But eventually Devi apologizes and Anisa forgives her, and Devi helps her convince her mom to let her stay at the school. Anisa then starts dating Ben after all of this, and Devi can't really complain because of all the shit she put Anisa through. I really loved the addition of Anisa this season, and I was charmed by her just as quickly as all of the classmates of Devi. Having two Indian girls in a show that aren't related shouldn't be revolutionary, but it kind of is. It was great to show the complicated feelings that Devi had of being competitive with this girl, then later realizing that it's actually really cool to have someone that gets you around you as a friend. Anisa also brought in the heavy topic of eating disorders, and it felt like a very real and sad thing for a teen to go through, and it was nice at least to see that this character was in recovery of this eating disorder, and it's something that she had overcome. I'm usually pretty hostile to new characters of shows I really love, and Anisa won me over immediately. And she just felt so naturally cool. Like, the way they portrayed the character is like how I felt about her. Like, I think the actress did a good job of playing like a really just like chill and cool girl. Her name is Megan Surrey, by the way. So let's move on to Paxton, who is one of Devi's love interests this season. He is the hot swimming jock named Paxton Hall Yoshida, and season 2 had amazing character development for Paxton. He got his own episode narrated by Gigi Hadid, similar to Ben's episode in season 1. So early in the season, he gets hit by a car after he finds out that Devi was cheating on him. In this accident, he breaks his arm, and that jeopardizes his whole swimming career. And most importantly, it hurts his chances of getting into college. So throughout the season, Paxton is forced to improve his grades if he wants to get into a decent college. And he gets tutored by Devi throughout, and by the end of the season, develops feelings for her once again. At the end of the season, they sort of start hooking up late at night in secret, and she is sort of asking him to take the relationship public. He is refusing because of the humiliation she put him through, which makes sense, honestly. But in the end, he decides to not care and publicly be her boyfriend. Paxton was one of the most developed characters this season, and he really went from a one-dimensional jock to a hardworking student and sweet guy for Davy. The actor who plays him is very cute, and I can say that because he is literally the same age as my boyfriend in real life. And that age is 30. This man is 30 years old. He was born in 1991. He is like a full-blooded millennial playing a 17-year-old guy. It is a little hard for me to suspend my disbelief about his age, but they did do a great job with his story arc, at least. He really got knocked down a lot. He was cheated on and he was hurt. So he couldn't swim anymore. And then we saw him show a lot of growth in school and in his relationship with Davy, in appreciating his own family. His relationship with his grandfather was really cute. So we just saw a lot of Paxton and development and just seeing him as more than a one-dimensional jock. I also thoroughly enjoy the smaller characters in this show. There's a lot of them, but I'll just talk about some of my favorites. So season 2 had a little less of the character of Jonah than in season 1, but it's always fun to have him on screen, and he's really great at giving advice to the characters. I also really love the character of Mr. Shapiro, who is their teacher for this class called Facing History. And this character is kind of a satire of like the white liberal type of person. He's very intensely into social justice and being a woke activist, feminist, all of the things. He wears like the pink pussy hat, and he wears like shirts with "Nevertheless She Persisted" type of slogans. But yeah, he still slips up with certain microaggressions, showing how like this type of over-the-top social justice warrior type is a little misplaced, I guess. This season, Paxton's best friend Trent also got a lot of screen time, and I hate this character, but that I think is the point of the character, so I appreciated the role he was playing. They do a good job of making him like the obnoxious bro character, and like he's super annoying. But that's the point of his character. Also, Davy's therapist, played by Niecy Nash, also makes for really great scenes. Okay, let's move on to the critique section, where I'll discuss the rest of the main characters that I haven't mentioned yet. I still really enjoyed these characters, don't get me wrong. I just found certain flaws here and there with their plot lines. We talked about Davy's love interest Paxton, but her other love interest is Ben Gross, her academic nemesis who helped her out a lot at the end of season 1. In season 2, Ben starts out dating Davy and then gets betrayed by her after she cheats on him, and then eventually dates the new girl, Anissa, later on. He ends the season still dating Anissa, but having like weird sort of feelings for Davy again, and it's kind of a question mark where he stands with who he likes at the moment. I don't have any complaints about how Ben's character was portrayed in season 2. I just feel like we didn't learn anything new about him. He got a whole episode in season 1, and I don't think we needed another one in season 2. There just wasn't much growth to his character at all. The most interesting part with Ben, I thought, was when he was disappointed that Anissa dropped the ball on their school project, and it was sort of the first time we see him question that relationship. We can infer he's missing his relationship with Davy, who Davy's a lot more academic, but Ben was very much a supporting character the whole season. So next, let's talk about Davy's best friends, Eleanor and Fabiola. Ever since season 1, these characters feel a little bit one note for me compared to all the other characters. It's kind of weird because they have pretty rich plot lines a lot of the time. They just kind of act like caricatures of people to me. Like, Eleanor's always quirky and dramatic, and Fabiola's always just like nerdy and into robots. Like, there's not too much more to them. I still enjoy their stories and their presence being there. I just sort of enjoyed Davy and her family and those plot lines a lot more. So Eleanor's storyline this season is about her breaking up with her nice guy boyfriend and starting to date this other guy who's kind of douchey and is a former child star, so she's very like starstruck by him, and he ends up being very controlling and toxic to her. She also starts out the season really hating her stepmom Sharon and ends up finally taking a liking to her. I thought Eleanor's toxic relationship was important to see in a teen show. I think it's a very real thing, but I just didn't see too much emotional range from Eleanor. Let's talk about Fabiola, the other friend. So Fabiola's season 2 journey was pretty interesting. She's navigating her social life post coming out and finding difficulty with understanding queer culture within her girlfriend Eve's friend group. So I did enjoy Fabiola's journey and the overall sort of message that her plotline was sending. Basically, the message is that there's no right way to be gay, and Fabiola sort of realizes towards the end of the season. I really love the message in theory. The execution of it was just a little clunky. It was weird to me how Eve and her friends were kind of so judgy about pop culture. Like, I would think they would just be excited to show Fabiola about queer celebrities or whatever instead of being like judgy that she doesn't know about them already. But they got there in the end, at least. Finally, let's talk about Kamala, who is Davy's beautiful and smart cousin. Kamala's season 2 storyline revolves around her working in a lab for her graduate PhD program and dealing with very sexist coworkers. She also sort of starts to question her current relationship with Prashant, a guy that her family had chosen for her to potentially marry. At the end of season 2, she realizes that Prashant might be about to propose, and she sort of freaks out and runs away to hang out with a new guy she's kind of interested in, and that is Davy's teacher, Mr. K. I liked Kamala's storyline for like the first half of the season. The plot about her facing sexism in her lab and her coworkers taking credit for her research was very real and not something represented very often on TV. And there was a great payoff to seeing her stand up to them in the end and demand what's right. And also that moment was inspired by Davy and her outlook on life, showing that Davy's approach is not always wrong the way it always ends up wrong for Davy. So that to me was a satisfying plot, but her romance plot was very confusing and rushed and underdeveloped, I thought. The choice of running away from Prashant when he was about to propose felt so random. Throughout the season, they had a few moments where Prashant sort of gave her maybe bad advice about her work situation, but they also had a lot of like positive moments together, so it didn't seem like that big a deal breaker that Prashant gave her like a piece of bad advice. Her interactions with Mr. K, the other guy, were also so brief. They had like flirty banter like twice in the whole season, and it just felt like a lot to leave her potential fiance for hanging out with this random guy she doesn't know. I was just surprised to not see more development of that in order to justify her running away from that dinner. And I did see a lot of discussion on the subreddit about this that agreed with this opinion, that this storyline felt odd and rushed. So overall, those are my thoughts on Never Have I Ever season 2. I think the most important question is, am I Team Paxton or Team Ben? Honestly, I don't know. I want to say for Davy, like, Ben just has so much more like in common with her, but also like Paxton, like, I agree with the friends that originally were telling her to pick Paxton because what are the chances that you'll have like the hottest guy in school? Honestly, if it was me, I'd pick Paxton because he's like my age. The actor. If I was in her situation, Paxton's just such a douche just by being sweet. I don't know, y'all. I'm so sorry. I don't have a good answer. Back in the day, I would switch around from Team Edward to Team Jacob all the time. So I've seen a lot of people that were Team Ben at the end of season 1 and Team Paxton at the end of season 2, which makes sense. So I agree with that. And it's just hard not to be swayed by where we ended up. I guess I'm Team Paxton for now. I really love this show and I'm so glad it's back. I wish it was longer. It takes me so little time to finish it and I have to just rewatch it. I'm hoping for more seasons of it. I love the show. I wouldn't watch it 3 times if I didn't. Let me know what you think in the comments below of the 2nd season. What team are you on? Team Ben or Team Paxton? I would love to hear about it. it. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos twice a week about pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!